I was not yet in the grave when my own son tried to bury me. My hands still trembled with life, my heart still beat within this old chest. Yet in the eyes of the court, in the ledgers of the government, and in the gossip of my neighbors, I was already gone. Imagine walking down the same street you have walked for 50 years, nodding at men who once shook your hand in brotherhood, only to see them whisper and stare as if a ghost passed by. One even tipped his hat and muttered, "I thought you were laid to rest last winter." Laid to rest. I, who had fought through winters at Valley Forge, who had endured hunger, frost, and the sound of men dying for the promise of liberty, now reduced to a rumor, a name crossed out, a corpse on paper. The truth of it struck me like musket fire when I went to the courthouse. My pension, the meager sum granted to me for my years in the Continental Army, had vanished from the rolls. The clerk, young enough to be my grandson, barely looked up as he shoved a paper across the desk. It bore the official seal of the government, cold and unquestionable. Beside the word deceased was my name. Beneath it, in bold script, the note, pension claimed by heir. And the heir? My own blood, my son Thomas. I felt the floor tilt beneath me, my breath catching in my throat as though strangled by unseen hands. I staggered home with the paper crushed in my fist, the words burning into my palm like fire. My neighbors watched me pass, some with pity, some with smirks. To them, this was confirmation of what they had long whispered, that I was too old, too frail, a man clinging to dignity he no longer possessed. But they did not know the truth. They did not know that my son had taken pen to paper and declared me dead while I still breathed. They did not see that betrayal sat heavier than any illness, heavier even than the years on my back. That night, I sat before the hearth, the flames casting shadows that danced along the worn beams of my home. In my lap lay the pension certificate, the one I had kept safe since the day it was issued. The parchment was yellowed, the ink faded, but the seal was still firm, pressed deep like a scar. I ran my fingers across it, remembering the pride I had felt when it was placed in my hand. It was not wealth, never that, but it was recognition, proof that the sacrifices of Valley Forge and Yorktown were not forgotten, proof that my name was tied to the birth of this nation. Now, to see my own son strip it from me, it was worse than death itself. When I confronted Thomas, he did not hang his head in shame. No, he looked me straight in the eye with the coldness of a man who had weighed the cost of his betrayal and found it worthwhile. "You were old," he said flatly. "It was only a matter of time. The pension will do more good in my hands than in yours." I searched his face for the boy who once carried water to me in the fields, the child who hid behind my legs during summer storms, but that boy was gone. In his place stood a man who saw his father not as flesh and blood, but as an obstacle. From that moment, I carried humiliation like a cloak. In the tavern, men whispered that I was senile, that I had lost my mind and confused dreams with reality. At church, pews that once welcomed me now sat empty on either side. Even children, who once begged me for stories of the war, now pointed and laughed, calling me a ghost who hadn't yet realized he was dead. Each day chipped away at my dignity, until I wondered which was heavier, to live falsely declared dead, or to embrace the grave and let the whispers prove true. But I was not yet ready to lie down. Each morning I pressed the pension certificate close to my chest, as though it were scripture itself. It was my proof, my shield, my voice against the silence that others tried to force upon me. When Melissa, my daughter-in-law, saw me clutching it one evening, she scoffed. "You cling to that rag as if it could bring back your youth," she sneered. "It won't change the truth. No one cares about your paper anymore." But she was wrong. That paper was more than ink and parchment. It was my life. And as long as I held it, I was not dead. The day of reckoning came when I walked into the courthouse, the pension certificate hidden inside my coat. The room was filled, neighbors packed shoulder to shoulder, eager for spectacle. Some came to see me fall. Others came to watch Thomas inherit my death. My son sat smugly, his lawyer beside him, confident that the word deceased on an official ledger outweighed any protest from an old man's trembling lips. But when the magistrate asked if I had anything to present in my defense, I drew the certificate from my coat and lifted it high. "This paper bears my name," I thundered, my voice stronger than I knew I still possessed. "This seal was pressed into it by the government of these United States. I fought for this country. I bled for it. And I still stand, breathing, before you. My son may have declared me dead, but God has not. No man can erase me with ink." The room fell silent. The magistrate leaned forward, studying the seal, the signatures, the date. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. For the first time, I saw doubt flicker across Thomas's face. He had not expected me to endure this long. He had not expected me to carry proof that outlived his lies. That was the moment I knew. Though I bore the weight of years and betrayal, I was not finished. My battle was not behind me. It was here, in this room, where I would reclaim my name or be buried alive by the hand of my own child.